Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DCA Annual Meeting. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. I am Sue Hayes, the co-president and the head of nominating. I'm here to present the 2021-22 board slate. But first of all, I'd just like to pay tribute to Amy, to the staff at the DCA, and of course the DCA Thrift Shop, and all the board for their extraordinary work to get us through this past year. It took creativity, teamwork, facing up to numerous hurdles and challenges, not least technical challenges. But we will start the new DCA financial year stronger and better able to serve both our members and the whole community. And I'd like to give my personal thanks to all the departing board members and those that are staying on. It's truly been a pleasure to work with you all. The slate for 2021-22 is on the DCA website, but today we elect or re-elect 6 board members. Members serve for 2-year terms. The first time we're presenting new members for election. They are Sue Kunze, Jim Phillips, and Bert von Stupenagel. And then for re-election for a further 2-year term, we present our Peter Mutchell, Deb Succo, and Terry van der Graaf. In a moment, you'll see a poll pop up, and that's to vote on the board slate for 21-22. Thank you. Thank you very much for submitting your vote. I'll pass it over to Amy Bell. Thank you.
Good morning. I wanted to share a few highlights of the DCA program year and what we were able to accomplish despite many limitations on our various businesses. Under the leadership of our new paid manager, Deb Daniel, complementing a robust and committed group of volunteers, our DCA Thrift Shop has been reimagined and refurbished. Last summer, nearly 200 people participated in our Community Days event, a free giveaway of essentials to those in need. Downtown Darien is really buzzing, as I'm sure our guest speaker will confirm, and we are proud of the role that our revitalized DCA Thrift Shop plays. And if you haven't already, you're going to love following the DCA Thrift Shop on Instagram. Last summer, we fully funded our college scholarship program for Darien High School graduates, awarding more than $67,000 in need-based grants to both Darien High School graduating seniors and reapplying students who are currently in college. And we'll also be awarding a similar amount this year. We're grateful for the support of many local families and businesses who sponsor named scholarships through the DCA. The 4-acre DCA Bird Sanctuary and Nature Trail is our contribution to open space in Darien, and it's open to the public to enjoy. And during COVID, it was a popular destination for families who were looking for safe outdoor recreation. So now it has many new and regular visitors of all ages. Whether our academic lecture series, Darien Men's Association, our partnership for book talks with Barrett Bookstore featuring authors such as Walter Isaacson, or our Darien Neighbors Global Players Speaker Series, we are proud that we've been able to provide outstanding virtual programming and community connection over the last year, and that we were able to format other offerings to occur safely in person, such as our greenhouse group plant sale and our afternoon teas. We've made a number of technology investments ourselves, and we really have enjoyed our partnership with DAF Media to broadcast our Darien Neighbors events. With the lifting of mandated business restrictions, we look forward to seeing more of you in person at the DCA. Rentals and catered events have been the most impacted segment of our business with many events either rescheduled or not held at all. But we're pleased to be seeing a resurgence of bookings this spring, and we hope it's a sign of more to come. The DCA has enjoyed its most successful annual appeal ever, and the generosity and support of our community and our volunteers has never been more apparent or appreciated. Thank you. And now to our speaker. David Genovese had an established career in investment banking, and then after 9/11 decided that he wanted to make a change. He founded Baywater Properties, applying his financial skills to real estate development. And the rest, as they say, is history. I think we all know that David has had a tremendous impact on our town, and he also brings the unique perspective of somebody who grew up in Darien. What you may not know about David, and you should, is that he has an amazing generosity of spirit. For instance, his Corbin Cares collaboration with the Darien Foundation, which provided restaurant and caterer meals to those in need during COVID, and then was so successful that it expanded to essential town workers. He's also generous with his time and a really incredible resource. If you need to get something done in Darien and you're not exactly sure how to go about it, David is always willing to help or connect you with someone who can. So thank you for joining us this morning, David. Once you were done with your presentation, I know you are looking forward to answering our audience questions. So for our audience, please type in your questions using the Q&A feature on Zoom at any point during the morning. Welcome, David. We can't wait to hear what you have in store for Darien.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be here. And when Amy asked me to do this a few months ago, I told her that some of the best conversations that we had around the early ideas of our project were with the Men's Association and then the DCA in your DCA house. As Penny and I were kind of beginning the process of developing or conceptualizing our idea, and we were soliciting feedback and trying to create an intense kind of feedback loop with the community around what people wanted and what we thought made sense for downtown. So what I thought I would do today is just give you kind of an updated presentation of where we are and what's going on. And for the benefit of those who maybe haven't been around as long, I also just wanted to spend a couple of minutes just looking at some past projects and kind of before and after images to remind us all of how much things have changed in the last 20 years since we started doing this work. And let me just get this to go and share my screen. Okay, and that should work. Bear with me one sec. Okay, it's kind of hard to believe that this is what Grove Street Plaza looked like about 25 years ago, before my partner Penny Glassmeyer got involved in downtown development. The town had basically approached Penny with an idea for a redevelopment of this area and trying to create some depth off of the Post Road. And they suggested she acquire these two properties, or these properties that were off the end of Brook Street, with the idea of creating a mixed use development. And Penny took her artistic talent, put her artistic talent to work and created what became Grove Street Plaza, which has really been an unbelievable gift to the community, especially I would say during COVID, when that outdoor plaza just became an oasis for so many. And it's been a bit of a laboratory for us. We host concerts, which we've been doing since about 2008. The idea there being that from 2008 and the financial crisis, that people wouldn't be traveling as much. So we came up with this idea of giving back to the community and trying to remind people to shop locally by hosting gatherings at Grove Street Plaza. And if any of you have been to these concerts, you've probably seen over the years that they've just grown immensely in popularity. And it's just been an incredible laboratory for us to kind of see what we can do in creating places to pull the community together and experimenting. Penny created a beautiful place, and then we began to kind of work to activate it. And I think it's just really been, it's had a monumental change on the community and a positive effect. In 2001, as Amy said, I came out to Darien. I called my dad and suggested that maybe he, who had kind of partly retired. He and I started a real estate company. We got going and bought a couple of other properties in South Norwalk and in Wilton, developed a couple of office buildings, and then we were presented the opportunity to redevelop this site across from Greaves Pharmacy, which when you look at these pictures, you probably can't even believe that this is what was in the middle of downtown Darien, in 2003. But these are some pictures that we took that show just how kind of decrepit it was. And there had been a restaurant that burned down years before in the 60s, actually. It hadn't been rebuilt for 40 years. That chain link fence with the car in front of it is literally across the street from the Sugar Bowl today, where now the building at 1020 Post sits. So that was a massive upgrade and created a real, again, another community gathering place, and offices with apartments and retail and restaurants. COVID changed a lot, obviously. And prior to COVID, when 1020 had put tables outside on the Post Road, to be candid, like they weren't really used. They weren't really appreciated as much as the tables in the back. And so what we learned through COVID was that people really were trying to enjoy some communal time, some time with friends and family in a way that felt safe, but they wanted more and more outdoor dining. And again, I don't know if any of you were able to get down to Greenwich Avenue last summer, but it was pretty extraordinary. The town of Greenwich actually closed the lower approximate third of Greenwich Avenue and allowed the restaurants to spill into the street. And they had enormous amounts of outdoor dining, and it was just amazing. And people loved it and are calling for it again. I don't know that they'll be able to do that because there's just so many property owners that own individual buildings along Greenwich Avenue. And they did take away a lot of the parking that served the retail. But what we've been doing with Darien, and I have to also give a little shout out to Jamie Stevenson and the Board of Selectmen, Steve Mulvaney and the Planning and Zoning Commission, and Liz Geiger and the Architectural Review Board. The towns and commissions in Darien working through COVID have just been extraordinary. Working together with the business owners and the property owners to kind of do what we had to do to help our tenants get through this really extraordinarily tough time. They allowed us to expand the outdoor dining temporarily, extended that, and it really helped us keep all of the restaurants going. So we had one change in a restaurant. Baldanza closed and Parlor Pizza opened and committed actually during COVID, I think partly as a result of what they saw happening in Darien, even in the darker hours with the takeout business and the outdoor dining that was beginning to thrive. But we learned a lot in COVID and we've extended it. And again, working with the town and with the boards and commissions, we proposed the idea of expanding the outdoor dining at 1020 Post along the driveway and reconfiguring the back, and they've agreed to that. And that's actually in construction right now for everyone to enjoy, I hope, by about mid-June. So that leads me to the Corbin District, which, I have to laugh. I mean, I've been talking about this for 15 years. So I was teasing my team this week. I said, I am a little bit like the boy who cried wolf, because I keep saying, we're really close. But this time I can tell you, we are really close. We got our financing from People's Bank. Special shout out to them for believing in us and believing in this project and committing to finance it for us during COVID. And having pulled all the pieces together, we're going to begin construction next month. In fact, we just hung up with Jeremy Ginsburg and the building department and the fire marshal and the police chief talking about coordination of traffic and so on during the process. And so we've got, I think, a pretty tight plan for how we'll do this in a way that'll be minimally disruptive. These are just some images of things that we've done over the years. Penny's Grove Street Plaza, the interior of 1020 Post, some other local stores. Again, our emphasis has always been on locally owned businesses. We have done, brought into town national companies from time to time, like Shake Shack, that we thought had a particular kind of flavor that would be appealing to the people of Darien and the region. But our emphasis has always been on trying to find the best, most appropriate tenants. And really, it's become a bit of an overused term in our business lately, but I can't think of a better one now. We really work hard to try to curate the mix and try to put businesses next to other businesses which do well. We also try to take into consideration how a business fits in, not only relative to our other customers, but also other businesses in town. So, there are enough Italian restaurants in town. We probably wouldn't sign a lease with another Italian restaurant, for example, but we need a sushi restaurant. That's what everyone tells us. And so we've worked hard to find a great sushi restaurant that will come and be a part of our new project, which we think we've done. But the project itself, for those of you who don't know, it encompasses now 7 acres of land in between Whole Foods and the train station. And well, let me use the DCA thrift shop as the other end of the other anchor here of the project. And we worked with Bruce Beinfield, a local architect from Rowayton in South Norwalk, who's done an enormous amount of work, great work in this area, to basically create a design that is reflective of New England, respectful of the area, but also has a bit of a contemporary edge in different places to appeal to a more modern aesthetic. Bruce has been a pleasure to work with, and his whole team has just been great. It's been an incredible collaboration. He worked with us on 745 Post Road and has been working hard with us for the last 2 years on the design of the project. The total project will bring 32 storefronts, 7 restaurants or food service ideas. That includes like a coffee shop or a salad shop, not just a full service restaurant. 116 residences downtown. And then I'll talk a bit about later the 12 units of housing we created for Ableist, a nonprofit in Greenwich that serves adults with developmental disabilities. There'll be 82,000 feet of office space, and the retail and the dining totals about 100,000 square feet. And with the town and working with the zoning commission, we propose to create another 810 parking spaces in the area. This is basically the block that is being redeveloped, the area to be redeveloped. And that's your thrift shop and Whole Foods, as you all know, and the exit ramp. And what we like to say to people, in presenting the project to retailers and potential restaurateurs is that, it's Darien has the most visible, accessible downtown in Fairfield County. It's right off of I-95, and we've been really careful to design the project to get the traffic, into the project as quickly as we could, so we don't slow traffic down on the Post Road. It's just factual that living here and most developers don't do development in the place they live. They don't. They find it they need a little bit of a break from their work. I'm all in. My parents also live here. Julie and my wife and I are raising our 4 kids here. And so, we take, I think, extraordinary care to kind of think about like the impacts of our actions and our work and make sure that we're getting it right. Plus Penny and Ed Glassmeyer have, a few of their children living in the area with grandkids. So we all talk that we're kind of like walking focus groups. We have a continuous information loop with the community as to what they like or don't like about what we're doing. And hopefully we're pleasing many, many more people than not. But the original idea that Penny and I had was to basically redevelop the area from Corbin Drive to the Bank of America building. And what happened over time was that as we got deeper into it, I think that she and I both got caught up in the idea of, we're doing this once, let's do it right, and let's do the best job that we possibly can. And so, our first kind of realization was that if we were going to build this nice series of buildings in the area of Corbin Drive and the Post Road, and then leave the elevated Bank of America building there, it might not be that attractive. The grades were off. The grade of the land is different. And it would be sort of strange to have that.
As well. Yeah, good.
To have that older building.
Sorry, I'm listening to a meeting.
It'd be awkward to have that building sort of sitting next to a bunch of new buildings. And then when Bruce Beinfield got involved with us a few years back, he said, you're going to build these beautiful buildings and they're going to overlook these single-story buildings with the mechanicals on the roof. Is that really what you want your downtown project to do? You'll build these wonderful residences and they won't really have much of a view. Why don't you think a little bit more boldly and try to figure out a way to encourage the property owners on the other side of the Corbin Drive to work with you and redevelop that so you could create a truly walkable Corbin Drive that would feel much more pedestrian friendly, say, than the Post Road might. And that was always, the comment that we got. In the early days of our work, we always heard from people that, Darien could never have a downtown to rival New Canaan or Westport or Greenwich Avenue because, the Post Road runs through it and the train tracks bisect it. And we just didn't accept that. We didn't think that was right. And when Penny built Grove Street Plaza, it sort of proved that we could extend the depth of downtown and create a little bit more walkability She put, some great new stores in there, the coffee shop, and now Flower Water Salt Bakery, which if you haven't been there, I would strongly recommend you try it. So it's become regionally famous, and just an incredible addition to the community. The Darien Butcher Shop and Fjord Fishery. And again, these are all kind of local businesses. And in fact, most of the principals of these companies either grew up in Darien or have moved here with their families. And so I think it's just we're trying to create texture and color and a neighborhoody feel that really makes Darien the envy. Darien's downtown the envy of the region. And in fact, it's kind of funny. I mean, now I was invited by the New Canaan Chamber of Commerce a few months ago to come to New Canaan to talk about what we were doing in Darien and what lessons New Canaan might learn from Darien. And I laughed. I thought, my God, 20 years ago when we first started doing this, like, no one would have ever thought New Canaan would ask our opinion because their downtown seems so much better. But the mix of tenants, and I think the care that Penny and I are trying to apply to selecting tenants, and now John Vaccaro's in town, renovating buildings and filling buildings. I think we're all really trying. He's also a Darien resident. I think we're all really trying to kind of be considerate and thoughtful about how we populate these buildings and what kinds of businesses go into. So this is a quick view of 10 Corbin as it exists today, and what was Frederick's Hair Salon and the Darien Toy Box, the Post Road with the perpendicular parking. You're all, I'm sure, aware of that, and the Bank of America building to the right. These were a series of buildings that were in the back of the Post Road buildings. Each of these buildings, by the way, was individually owned by a family. Usually there were 2 or 3 family members involved in every one of these buildings. And so, to actually carry out this project, what we've had to do over the last 15 years was acquire all of those properties in individual negotiations with each of the families. And so it was a really pretty extraordinary undertaking, which we finished a few months ago. But basically what it enables us to do is to, represent downtown Darien. And basically this is an image of the new Post Road with the back out parking eliminated, parallel parking on the Post Road, which is much safer. And, retail on the first floors with 2 stories of apartments above. The trend in Darien historically, and maybe some of the members of the DCA have followed this, a trend had been for people to, move to Darien, raise a family, become empty nesters, and then move to, New Canaan or Rowayton in search of, a downsized opportunity, a downsized housing opportunity, something smaller, maybe maintenance free through a condominium. Darien had smaller apartments, didn't really have larger condominium units. And so, what we've proposed here, what we've designed here are larger condominium units, 1 and 2 bedroom, 2 bedrooms with a study for an occasional guest that would really allow people to remain in place and not have to move to New Canaan after being here for so long and staying a part of the community. And that to us is of fundamental importance. This is an image of the back side of the property off the Post Road. So one of the key elements of the project, which has always been a part of it before COVID, and with COVID, we realize now it's only more important and more desirable from the community's point of view, is we designed these buildings with significant outdoor plaza space and public space and outdoor dining opportunities. And Lisa Elwell, who works with us here also, she and I met with the farmers market folks who have been bouncing around town over the years, trying to keep a place to do the farmers market. And they've agreed to do 1 or 2 days per week, including a weekend day, in the middle of our project, if we'll allow them to set up. And so those pop-up tents that you see are meant to represent, the farmers market, which we would bring into the middle of downtown, which then helps the stores, because now people are coming to the farmers market, they're walking around, and they're visiting the stores. And the Toy Box, Bill Jensen of the Darien Toy Box, is a pretty smart guy. And he said when we're working with us as to how, he was going to, where he'd be relocated to, he said, well, I really want to be like right on the backside of that plaza where the kids can buy a toy, parents can buy a toy, and then go play with it right there. So Bill will be on the inside there facing the farmers market. This is an image of the Post Road and one of the restaurant ideas that we're working on. with a group from Nantucket and Washington, D.C. called Millie's. You can see that's actually a pedestrian walkway into the building. Those windows actually open fully to the outside. And this is kind of one of the signature restaurants in the project, significant size, and should be really, really fun. And when we posted that Millie's was coming to Darien recently, I think it got the most Instagram likes of anything we've posted on our social media platform, because there's so many people from Darien that know it and love it from Nantucket, and their time spent in Nantucket. This is a view of the backside with the public plaza, and you can see the outdoor dining. By the way, these are all renderings. These are photorealistic renderings that are designed. They're taken from the architectural drawings and actually digitized. So they're 100% to scale, and we can actually work with the tenants. This is literally what we use for marketing purposes, how we kind of present the project to people and show what their restaurant might look like and what the opportunity could be. This is a view of a building on Corbin Drive. At the end, this might be a coffee shop with a little cafe. It's one group that we've been talking to and exploring the idea with, Blue Bottle Coffee. And this is the plaza on the backside of that building. So this is at the end of Corbin Drive and the backside facing the public plaza. Again, knowing what we know from Grove Street Plaza, we really don't think we could do too much outdoor, gathering place in this project. And that's what we want to create, as many unique spaces. And then this is a building at the end of Corbin Drive that we basically have been redesigning, and we'll be going back to the architectural review board. This is part of the second phase of buildings, but this is a building we're building for a hair salon in Greenwich called Maison Alexander, who's very well regarded in the area. And this is an aerial view, just showing again the buildings with some of the tenants that we're working with, some of the tenants that we've announced or will be announcing soon. Corbin Drive, with the gas station being redeveloped as a building with Bank of America, Barrett Bookstore, one of the pride of Darien, I would say, and a great partner, I think, too, of the DCA, which has been great to see. The Shade Store, Morley, Green and Tonic, Bakery, Mathnasium, Compass Real Estate. We're working with them for this backspace. Baubles and the dry cleaner. This is that Maison Alexander building. This is the space I showed you at the end with the patio. Barry's Boot Camp is a high intensity workout group that we've been working with for years on the project. So we're looking forward to them coming to Darien. They're going to come to Greenwich and Darien in the next couple of years. And that's the Millie's restaurant space. This is a sushi restaurant, Miku from Greenwich, that we've been working with, and LL Bean, who we've been working with. And this is the idea we have for the post office that we're trying to work through with them now. This is that interior plaza space, which is a street that we can close. And the idea is that, traffic would come off the post road and into the project quickly, over to the parking structure, the surface parking. There's surface parking throughout the project. And also, most importantly, or very importantly, I think, I don't think that people have really kind of considered what the impacts of this will be. But the way we design this, because my partners and I also own 1020 Post Road and 36 Old Kings Highway South, we were able to create new streets into the Center Street parking lot. So basically, this will now function as a drive area where you can park and move around the site. And, to date, you can't get across Corbin Drive into the Center Street parking lot. Until last year, there was a drainage culvert that ran along the property line here, which we actually relocated in the late fall of last year. That was one of the gifts of COVID. There weren't many people parked in the parking lots, and so we were able to do that without disrupting as many people as we might have. So that work has been done. We actually took down the building at 34 Old Kings Highway South, and we're building a new building there, which began construction a couple months ago. That's actually going to be our office. I kind of realized if I put my own office in the middle of this project, as much as I might like to do that, I would probably never get any work done. So we thought we should go here. It allowed us to reconfigure the parking lot and create some more spaces, and it will maybe help our productivity, because I think we'll do a little more work if we're over here versus if we were in the middle of this fun. Lastly, all of these buildings have 2 stories of apartments above them, except for this one building, which is an office building. This is a 5-story building. that has offices above. And the idea is that it kind of blocks I-95 also from all the apartments in this area. These apartments are obviously a little exposed to I-95, but we've been working with the engineers to kind of create really high quality buildings that will be soundproof. And so if you're living in those apartments, you won't hear it. We began work in the winter of 20, and we're hoping to be done with the first phase of buildings in 2022. And then as soon as we're done relocating the tenants into the new buildings, we'll basically begin the second phase, and we hope to deliver that in winter 23. Let me just go back and make one other important point, because a lot of people in town really care about their local businesses. And a lot of people have asked us over the years, what was our plan to make sure that we didn't lose any of the local businesses that they love. One of the benefits of this project as it expanded was that it gave us the opportunity to do the project in 2 phases, which, to be candid, is more expensive. In a way, I wish we could just do it all at once and be done. But, on the other hand, there are a number of really great Darien families and other families who own these businesses who basically don't want to give up their business for a year or can't give up their business for a year, 2 years. And so the plan is to build these first 3 buildings, beginning next month. On completion, relocate all of our existing retail tenants into those buildings. And when we're done with that, take down the triangle and build phase 2, allowing some of them to relocate and then bringing in the new tenants. So that's basically our plan of attack. And, I'm happy to say that we've worked out the details and relocated everyone, or have a plan for relocating everyone, including, Pause and Reflect and Darien Shoe Repair, Spiro the Cobbler. Everybody's basically gotten a home. So we're really, really proud of that accomplishment. Lastly, I'm just going to show you a couple of other little things. This was the building at 34 Old Kings Highway South, which we had some fun with in COVID. And a mural artist named Brian Casper found us through a great woman in town, Tara Hessert. And we had some fun at Halloween and painted that, and the kids had a blast with it. And we took it down, and the plan is to build this small office building. So that's going to be the building we move to. And then lastly, as part of this project, and another element of it that we're really proud of and really excited about is we bought an old nursery school daycare center on East Lane, and basically proposed to the town the idea of building 12 units of affordable housing as part of our affordable housing requirement, to build 12 units of affordable housing that is purpose-built and would be managed for the benefit of adults with different abilities, adults with developmental disabilities. And so we partnered with Ableist, and we worked with the town of Darien Zoning Commission to get this project approved. It's actually in construction, and we hope to be done with it in September. And on completion, we're going to actually give it to Ableist as a charitable gift. They're going to run it, and they've been taking applications, and they're doing all kinds of incredible work in the community. They're probably going to open up a small store with us, which would be staffed by members of the Ableist community. And there'll be 12 units here. If anyone has any interest or need, or knows someone in need of this type of housing, please reach out to me, and I'll put you in touch with the folks from Ableist who are managing the leasing. There's a thousands of person waiting list in the state of Connecticut for housing for adults with disabilities, and it's a massive shortage. In Darien, there's only 6 beds in the cottage, which was privately built on town property off of Edgerton Street for adults with disabilities, and there is much, much more need than that in this community and around us. So we're really excited about the possibilities of East Lane. This is another view of one of the houses. So they look like 2 houses. They look no different really than any single family home in Darien, but then inside of the house, there's 6 efficiency apartments with an elevator and a generator, and they're fully sprinklered. And there's an office and a common room for the residents to socialize and hang out together. But we're really excited about that. And that's actually what they look like as of about a week ago, East Lane. So we're really almost there with those as well. That's my presentation. I'm happy to turn it over to you if you have any questions. Actually, let me look in the chat. I can pull this up. Laura Bolton. David, from a developer's perspective, how do you think the post-COVID work environment, where more people work from at least part-time from home will impact communities like Darien. You know, we honestly, I hate to say, because COVID has been just such an awful situation, but there have been a couple of, benefits of COVID. One benefit obviously was this massive in-migration of people. I was reading in an article that was published last week that 455 new people or households moved into Darien during COVID. So literally, as many of you probably know, the housing market, which was suffering from a bit of malaise, is now incredible. There's bidding wars on almost every house that goes on the market for sale. There's virtually no inventory. The biggest problem that the brokers report to us now is that there isn't enough inventory to meet the demand of new families that continue to want to move to Darien. And we're really excited about this. And actually, I wish we could have gotten started sooner, but in a way, I'm really excited to start to kind of share more about our vision of the project and the tenants that we're working with, because I think that, when young families especially are kind of thinking about moving here, I think that these projects, the work we're doing, the work that Federal Realty is doing in Norotan Heights and the Palmers will be doing up there, I think it helps in the sales pitch as to why you might want to move to Darien. As to work from home, what I can tell you is that, our offices are full. We have much more demand for office space than we have supply in Darien right now. The great guys at Fletcher Development who took over Darien Green and renamed it Darien Crossing and made some major improvements have done an incredible job of leasing that project, which had languished for years. And this is our product will be kind of more high end, a little bit more expensive, a little bit more class A, using kind of great materials and finishes and all new technology. But we think that there'll be a lot of people doing kind of 2 days a week from home. This is what we're hearing from many, many, many of our office tenants. We manage about 400,000 or 500,000 feet of office around Fairfield County. So we're in active dialogue with a lot of office people. And we think there'll just be people working differently, maybe 3 days a week in the city, 2 days a week from home, or maybe they're traveling and then 1 or 2 days a week at home. And that's a good thing for the businesses, because people that are working from home or working in a satellite office, hopefully in downtown Darien, they may want to go get lunch with a colleague or a client. And so it's good for the businesses. 1020 Post reported to us that 2 weeks ago was the best week they'd ever had in 13 years in Darien. And it's really kind of amazing. It's not just because of takeout. It's a lot of people that are doing business meetings as a way to, connect with clients and others in the area. So we're happy about that. Terry presented a question. This question came in from our audience. Can you share with us the financing process for a project of this scale and longevity? You mentioned 15 years in the planning. Sure. I mean, without getting too into it, we acquired the first few properties, 10 Corbin and 30 Corbin, 33 Old Kings Highway South, 17 Old Kings Highway South. We acquired those 3 or 4 properties in 2007. The summer of 2007, just before the world almost seemed like it might end financially, from Dr. Felder, who was a longtime Darien resident, and Steve Zangrillo, the founder of the Darien Sports Shop, and they had a couple of other partners. We bought those first properties with our own equity and then some money that we borrowed from Webster Bank. We then, acquired the other properties over time, mostly with our own resources, without financing. This is pretty complicated, but we're partnering with the owner of the gas station. We're partnering with the Wyckoffs, who own the building where Mathnasium and the karate studio is, and we're partnering with the Tibbetts. We are all contributing our property into different ventures, and then we're getting construction financing from People's Bank to carry out the project. So it's very low leverage relative to what typical people do in our business, but it's the way we've approached our business over the years, and it's worked. We've been through 2 pretty catastrophic, economic shocks to the system. The first that I experienced out here in 20 years was the great financial crisis of 2008, 2009, and then the second being COVID. And I'm happy to say that we got through both of those unscathed, and we're able to work with our tenants to do what needed to be done to get them through to the other side. And so hopefully that answers your question. Damien Zayak asks, will Corbin Drive be closed during either phase of construction? We don't think so. That was actually a call we had this morning. We've got a plan to keep it open during construction. There may be some period of time where we go down to one-way traffic from the Post Road to Old Kings Highway South, but we'll be super sensitive also to the operations of the post office and trying to make sure that the flow of traffic around there is good and safe. Can we talk about some of the other stores and restaurants that may be coming to downtown Darien? You know, at this point, no, I can't. I'll share more with you as we get closer. I mean, to be totally candid with you, and you may not like this, but you know, we are competing with Federal Realty for some tenants, and so I'd rather not get too into the details. But I'm sharing with you the tenants that you know we've either signed leases with or we're about to sign leases with, and you know are committed to our project. And I would say that you know the interesting thing as a COVID matter that I think you might find interesting is that you know there were many tenants that we were sort of interested in particular like New York City based retail or restaurant tenants that we thought would be appreciated by Darien, who we wanted to get to talk to us in the last few years. And honestly, up until COVID, many of them really just had no interest in growing outside of the city centers of New York, Boston, San Francisco, LA. But COVID, you know, triggered this exodus of younger families and professionals out to the suburbs. And so what's happening now is that a lot of those businesses are actually following their customers. And so they are now focused on developing growth strategies for Fairfield and Westchester County in particular, a benefit to us. And so we are getting benefit from that. And I think people will really enjoy and appreciate some of the, you know, other groups that will be coming. Restaurant La Stalle is an extraordinary restaurant that just opened up off Center Street behind Tokenique Road. You know, the chef, Jared, was a famous chef in New York City and in Boulder, Colorado, and I think San Francisco before that. He and his wife moved out to Darien during the crisis, and he wanted to open a restaurant here. So how lucky are we that, you know, this horrible thing that we went through as a society is benefiting us in that way, that Jared's decided to open his extraordinary restaurant here in Darien. Will the apartments be for sale or rent? Mostly we're going to rent. We think that the trend, you know, at least for now, has been more in the direction of rentals, people wanting to be renters. We've had great experience renting apartments at 745 Post Road. Penny has Grove Street Plaza apartments, and we have the 1020 Post Road apartments, and we've had great experience. We have tenants who moved into those buildings when they were built who've never left. And they're just awesome people who rent by choice. And we think that there are a lot of people who may want to downsize, but for different reasons, maybe tax or economic reasons, they may want to establish residency in Florida, but maintain a foothold in Darien so they could be with their community. And we see those folks oftentimes preferring renting versus buying. We have talked about, but we haven't decided yet on it, the possibility of selling condominiums in this building first, just to see how it goes. And that would be about, I think, 6 or 7 apartments. So we may sell a few, but it won't be all of the apartments. There was a point at which in an earlier iteration of our project, an earlier concept, we were thinking about selling all of them. And to be candid, on reflecting upon that further, we just concluded that to sell 116 apartments in downtown Darien or so would just be too much. We didn't think people would be comfortable. It's like too much inventory, and nobody would want to be the first 10 or among the first 10 or 20 to buy. So we concluded that renting is better, and it gives us more control of the experience and the opportunity. And so that's the direction that we're headed at this point. And so, Amy, with that, I've answered all the questions, I think. I'm happy to answer any other questions anyone has. But I guess in closing, what I would also, here we go. Sorry, there's some more. What is the target demographic for the 160? It's 116 apartments. The target demographic is, as I said, really an empty nester. We don't want people leaving Darien after raising families here. So these apartments, all of them have, you know, a proper sense of entry, a powder room, ensuite bathrooms. They really are like among the nicest apartments you'll see. And if any of you if you're curious, I'd encourage you to take a look at what we did at 745 Post Road, because that model is really what we'll be doing. And it's a different model than what many others have built over time. So that's who we want to live in these apartments. There may be some young families that decide to come out and rent first as they're trying to find a place to buy in Darien, and that's fine too. But we don't envision a lot of young families kind of living in these downtown apartments. Do you know why the Norotan Heights project is not going ahead? I presume, Eve, you mean the Palmer project. I don't really know what's going on. I did have an active communication with the Palmers in the earlier days of COVID. We honestly haven't spoken in months. I know there was some issues with their financing, but my understanding is that they've resolved those issues. And so I think we should expect them to begin construction soon. And we look forward to that. It's a great project and they're really good people. And I think that will get going soon. Gary Banks asks, will the power lines be underground? We've been working for a number of years with CL&P, Eversource, and the DOT on the idea of undergrounding power lines. And so we hope to have a solution, we think it works, to underground the power lines from Corbin Drive all the way to the exit 11 ramp and run the power down the back of the project instead, which we're excited about because we think that will make a very, very dramatic improvement. When you're driving down the Post Road next time, just take a look up ahead. Most of us don't notice these things unless we're in a meeting like this and someone brings it up. But when you take a look at that, you'll see that there's a lot of power lines along the Post Road and crossing the Post Road, and we're hoping to get rid of all of that in front of the primary part of the project. Where will the post office be? So the post office space that we've proposed to them is, if you can still see my screen, it's in the back of the project along the surface parking lot. We purposely designed this space for them with a loading dock, which was their requirement. And so we're trying to work through the details of that with them. They haven't committed to us yet, but we know that everybody loves the post office and wants a post office in downtown or in the vicinity of downtown. So I'm confident that there will be a post office in downtown Darien. I can't tell you for 100% with 100% certainty where it will be, but I'm confident that there will be one, unless they decide just to go to Norotan Heights. I understand that building materials have doubled and even tripled. How will this impact your projects? That's a good question, Sutsy. Yeah, it's been a little scary. When COVID struck, we were hard at work finishing the design of our project and basically working through the details of design and engineering and so on. And my point to the partners in that dark moment in March or April was, we have to kind of look through the fog. We're here now and we're going ahead, and we should just keep working and keep the team engaged. And if the same thing happens that happened in 2008 when we built 17 Old Kings Highway South, which we began construction in 2010, we were able to save a lot of money in construction when we built 17 Old Kings Highway South, because nobody was building anything in the wake of the financial crisis. That was a good move in 2010. I couldn't have been more wrong in 2020. Interest rates have started to creep up a little bit, not too much, but on a historical level, they're still very, very low. But wood pricing and copper pricing and steel have increased considerably. So we're kind of working through this. The good news is that we generally have built our buildings out of concrete and steel because we build them to own them for a very long time. And we don't think that wood construction is as good if you're trying to put active retail uses on the first floor, retail or restaurant uses. When we built 1020 Post Road, we were very, very careful to build it out of concrete and steel and to work with an acoustical engineer to make sure that if the restaurant at 1020 Post was jumping, Dan Anderson in his office above at Merrill Lynch wasn't hearing, the clatter of dishes and glasses. And we didn't want Susie Brewer to, hear the same over there above Ole Mole. So with good design and engineering, we were able to do that. And steel and concrete haven't moved as much as wood. So, thankfully, we don't have to buy any of that material for a while. And actually, in 2008, I started tracking the futures market. So I would wake up the S&P futures and the Dow futures. So in the mornings, from about probably July of '08, I would look at the Dow futures and the S&P futures every morning when I woke up. Now I look at the lumber futures, and I'm not kidding. It's kind of sad, but that's what I do. And they've turned south. So they've started to retreat, which we take as a good sign. We think, and I'm not a commodities trader, but we believe that this is a supply chain disruption problem that's going to kind of work its way through this, work itself out of the system in the near term, and before we need to go buy all the wood and material that we need. Post office during construction, that's TBD. We're working through that with them now. They've got a temporary location that they prefer to the one we offered them. So I think that will get worked out over the course of the next month. Bank of America, Joe Rocks is asking the question, where will Bank of America go? Bank of America will go from this location at 1120 Post Road over to 1044 Post Road into a beautiful new branch that we've designed for them. And they're really excited about that. And it'll be right next to the Merrill Lynch offices too, which is great because they're all one company now. Lisa Miller, can you talk a little more about the 116 residences? Are they age restricted? When would they be completed? They will not be age restricted. The first wave of apartments will be in this block, and that will deliver in probably the fall of 22. So, you know, that would be the first apartments, fall-ish of 22, maybe later in the year in 22. And then the other apartments will come online later, and we'll have online floor plans and more material soon. You know, to date, to be candid, we've been really focused on, as I describe it, setting the table for the project by getting the retail and the restaurants right. Because if we get the retail and the restaurants right, the office flows from there, the apartments flow from there. If we have the right choices on the first floor, it will help a lot with in helping people envision what living in this area will be. Abby Van Arstrand, next month, take down these 3 buildings, rebuild 3 new buildings in the approximate locations of those 3 buildings, and that will be done over the course of 15 to 16 months. And then when that's done, we relocate the existing retailers into those buildings. Everything is rosy, Helen Ainson, Bill Jensen at the Toy Box, etc. And then we attack this portion and deliver that in the winter of 23. Wanda Forlivio, can you please share what's included in phase 1 versus phase 2? I think I touched that. This is phase 1 and this is phase 2. And I think I covered Mona McNally's comment and question as well. So I think that's it. With that, I'm going to also share with you something kind of fun. I think I can do this. Let's see. Hang on. Amy, let me. So this is what I'm going to share with you is a video, a flyover video that was created basically to scale of our project, that literally gives you a flavor for what it will look like upon completion. So if I get this right, can you see that? This is walking down the post road with the parallel parking instead of the back out parking, with the retail and the apartments above. And again, this is to scale. And what you can see is that we tried to make the buildings look unique and different and mix the materials so that it doesn't look like a big monolithic project. This is the driveway into the project, leading to the surface parking area, and on the right, the parking garage. And then this is the interior street that we can close with the farmer's market on the left. Ignore the colors. That's just a kind of rough thing, but you can see the outdoor dining and others. This is from the surface parking lot in the back looking toward the post road. And next we'll come to Corbin Drive, coming up a newly reconstructed Corbin Drive on both sides. So you've got the new buildings on phase 1 on the right and the phase 2 buildings on the left. And this is the entry into the pedestrian walkway from the post road into the project. And that is my presentation.
David, I love that. It's great to see the plans actually take shape and then to get that visual representation. So that was a great way to end things. And you know, it just occurs to me, you know, 15 years of work. Congratulations on now seeing it all come together. And the last year probably seems like an extra 15 years on top of the previous ones. So it's going to be great to for all of us to watch this summer as things really unfold for you.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, and thanks for all your support. You guys have always been so great to us in allowing us to come and share, you know, a view of what we're trying to do and solicit your feedback. So we'll keep the dialogue open, and we're just grateful for your support and happy to share this with all of you.
Well, thanks again, likewise. And just for the folks who are listening in the audience, we appreciate you joining us this morning on this beautiful day. And it is just as a reminder, since there are many members and maybe some potential members listening, that our DCA membership year, new membership year starts on June 1st. So we'd love your continued support, and you can hop on our website at dariendca.org and either join or renew your membership. So thanks again for participating in our annual meeting. Thank you, David, and we'll look forward to seeing more of you very soon. Have a good morning.
Thank you so much. You too.